Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there is a ton of news stories to get into today, so we are going to talk about WWE. It's going to be a bit of a shorter WWE news video than we would usually do here because there is always something going on when it comes to WWE. It's the biggest pro wrestling company out there right now, so of course there's always something going on. But in terms of WWE news, there isn't a ton going on right now because it's just a huge week for professional wrestling in general outside of WWE. Of course, tonight is All Out, featuring the return to the ring of one CM Punk. Yes, very excited for that. There's a load of independent stuff going on right now, so we're going to keep this one relatively short today, probably about 10 minutes or something like that. Get through some big WWE news stories rather, and then we will be doing an AEW news video today and an Impact Wrestling news video. Plus, we've got all the previews for All Out. We've got a watch along for All Out tonight as well, and an All Out post show. So it's a busy day, but a great day to be a pro wrestling fan. I don't know about you, but I'm very, very excited. So be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Click the notification bell. You'll be notified when all of these videos go up today, and you'll be notified, most importantly, when we go live for the watch-along tonight and for the post-show stream, reacting to everything that's happened at All Out. So it's an exciting time in pro wrestling. But we are going to talk about WWE first, and we're going to talk about Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson. Yes, there's been a lot of buzz when it comes to Gable Steveson. He's teased a career in professional wrestling. He teased it even prior to the Olympics, of course, in Tokyo, that potentially he could be heading to WWE after the Olympics. I think Paul Heyman had singled him out as a future prospect, and there'd been these reports and rumors about Gable Steveson already having conversations with Vince McMahon and all that kind of stuff. Well, earlier yesterday, Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson teased on social media that he had signed a contract but didn't reveal where. Now, he put out the following tweet saying, quote, "Just put pen to paper, ... Now, his next destination is reportedly WWE. This is according to Dave Meltzer of F4W Online. Now, no additional details were known, or nor was a start date given. Now, Steveson could still return to the University of Minnesota, but it's not clear if he's done there as of right now. He has also been in talks with Dana White of the UFC. Now, he reportedly had a meeting with Vince McMahon last month at SummerSlam. Steveson also made an appearance during the pay-per-view, along with fellow gold medalist Tamara Mensah-Stock. It has also been noted that Seth Rollins has already offered to train Gable Steveson. I think it's likely that he'll go straight to the Performance Center and train there. It feels like WWE really did the full court press when it comes to Gable Steveson. Look, there's a lot of people been talking about him for a while. Again, I mentioned prior to the Olympics, there was a lot of buzz prior to the Olympics about this guy, and that a lot of people were very interested and hoped that he would want to make the transition into pro wrestling. I think that interest just went exponential once he won that gold medalist and the way that he did it, and then afterwards he did a backflip. You can imagine Vince McMahon and all those people in WWE were like, give this guy what he wants. Now, I think it's interesting because sometimes WWE doesn't always win this race when it comes to gold medalists, amateur wrestlers, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, you go back to like Kurt Angle back in the day, and even I think Kurt Angle kind of says that, you know, well, UFC at the time wasn't really an option for me. This was the mid to late 90s, and UFC was around, but it wasn't what it was today. And maybe if UFC was what it was today back in the 90s, maybe I would have considered signing with them and going in that direction. But WWE was the better alternative. It provided me more money, and that's where I went. Nowadays, a lot of people, when they're successful in the Olympics, they tend to go in that MMA route because they get a conversation with Dana White. It's still legitimate competition in their eyes, and that's where they like to go. And WWE doesn't tend to win that topic of discussion. Yes, of course, they get people from the Olympics, and they get people from MMA or amateur wrestling, etc. But it's difficult to really win that race. And I don't know, and we don't really know the details, of course, of the contract that Gable Steveson has been given by WWE. So we can't really talk about figures or anything like that. But when you hear about Kurt Angle, when he talks about, I remember Kurt Angle talking about when he first had negotiations with WWE after the Olympics. You have to remember, Kurt Angle got offered a contract essentially right out of the gate, right after the Olympics for WWE, and it was for a huge amount of money, something like $1 million or something like that, or $500,000 or something. It was a lot of money, and he turned it down. He said, no, I don't want to do it. And then his agent told him, don't do it. It's pro wrestling, that fake stuff, don't do it. So he said no. And then about a year later, he gets rid of the agent and he goes back to WWE and says, is that offer still on the table? They said, you can come and try out, but that offer's not on the table anymore. So tough luck kind of thing. And he had to take a contract that was far less. I would think this is probably way more of the former in this case. I think that WWE have obviously pursued Gable Steveson significantly. They've probably paid him a lot of money, I would have thought, a significant amount of money anyway. And whilst he would be on a developmental contract, certainly I think he's going to be handsomely rewarded for learning to wrestle, essentially. So again, I don't know what his situation is going to be when he comes to the Performance Center once he starts training. They'll look at having him on TV very soon, I think, because, and no disrespect to the guy, but it's weird with the Olympics, isn't it? Of you can do great stuff at the Olympics, you can win a gold medal, but come this time next year, not to say people have forgotten about you, but people move on very quickly. Other sporting events happen, and just again, that's just the news cycle, right? People move on very quickly. So I could certainly see a situation where WWE are like, right, let's get this guy under contract, let's train him up as quickly as possible, and let's get him on TV. Kurt Angle, once he signed with WWE, he was on TV, a year later? Now, I don't know if that's going to be the same for Gable Steveson, but in the past, historically, they have kind of found a way to sort of streamline that process and get people quickly onto television. And I think that's probably what they'll try and do there. I think, again, it's been a full court press when it comes to signing him, and I think they would have laid out how they would train him as well. I think they would have laid out, right, we'll get you in, we'll train you up as quick as possible, you won't be stuck in developmental for however many long. Vince McMahon won't want that because he want the PR, and he obviously looks at Steveson and thinks, right, this can be the next Kurt Angle. Whether or not he can be, time will only tell. Kurt Angle's a freak. I think people forget that about him, how quickly he transitioned into pro wrestling just doesn't happen. I think their hope is that sometimes it was kind of the same with Ronda Rousey, although I think that Kurt Angle was a far better pro wrestler than she ever was. I think it's the case of sometimes with these elite level athletes that have won gold medals or performed in the Olympics like Rousey, like Angle, and competed in other forms of sports, high elite level sport, it's just learning stuff. They're just determined to a new level, and they're just unbelievably determined, and they're just unbelievable when it comes to learning pro wrestling. And I think maybe that'll be the hope for Gable Steveson. But look, it's a big coup for WWE. There's no doubt about it. He was in demand. I think again, it just goes to show how that whole process was like, certainly, doesn't it? It goes to show what that whole process has been like, So they have these discussions. We'll take you out at SummerSlam, and I think that's probably part of it as well, because he just signed the contract yesterday. So I think part of it was, send him out there. Send him out there and have him walk around the ring at SummerSlam, and he can go out and look at the crowd and think, oh, this is what I could be doing every single week. Look at that crowd. Look at the way they react to me, all that kind of stuff. And he takes it and he thinks, I can do that. UFC aren't walking him around the octagon or anything like that. UFC aren't putting him in the crowd and waving and all that kind of stuff, So WWE have been very, very full on about trying to make this guy and convince this guy, and it's the new vision that they're going for, right? It's that legitimate athlete with a sporting background, a big guy, a heavyweight wrestler, and they've got their guy, it looks like. The only thing I would think about this, and I think this goes to show kind of my feelings when it comes to WWE at the moment, is that once I heard that he had signed with WWE, immediately my first thought was, what gimmick are they going to make him do? Because that's what WWE is right now. A lot of things just aren't serious, and you kind of think to yourself, like, what gimmick are they going to do? What gimmick are they going to have him do? He's going to come out being, I don't know. They've done the Olympic thing with Kurt Angle in the past, but maybe they will go with that. I don't know. But it makes you wonder, doesn't it? It certainly does make you wonder of because we've seen some bad creative from WWE, so I wouldn't rule anything out. But look, it's a big signing for WWE. I'm sure they're very happy about it. We have some news on Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks, of course, has been out of action for a while, but reportedly she was backstage at SmackDown this week. Now, Sasha Banks hasn't wrestled since the August 7 WWE Super Show live event, was then pulled from last month's SummerSlam because she wasn't cleared for action, even though WWE falsely advertised her still. I don't think we've forgotten that one. Now, the specific reason that Banks has been away is still unknown. Banks has not been at any show since then, but was backstage at SmackDown this past Friday. This is according to a report by Fightful Select, which of course is their Patreon service. Be sure to check that out. Now, the report noted that they weren't told of any current creative plans for the boss, But earlier this week, it was reported that the WWE superstar is scheduled to return next weekend, which of course features the Super SmackDown taping from Madison Square Garden in New York City. It's not 100%, but that was the expectation. So we heard a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, that the hope was that Banks would be back for that MSG show. It looks like she might be. Again, I'm not going to speculate on what the issue was or anything like that because it's not fair. I never like to report on anything like that, and I never like to, unless, again, it's out there and the star themselves or the company have been open about it. Otherwise, I just don't like to report, speculate. That's what it is. I hate to speculate on anything like that because it's not right. It's so not right to do. So I'm not going to speculate as to the reason that she was out. People have got their theories, but we're not really going to comment on that. The most important thing is that Sasha Banks is back soon, and it looks like she will be. If she was backstage at SmackDown, chances are she'll probably be back next Friday at that Super SmackDown event. I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised if they go in a direction of, we know that it's going to be Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair in the contract signing. If Sasha Banks shows up then, and then what happened to contract signings in the past, just add your name to it. Just write down, right? You can do that. Just add your name to it. That's all you need to do. That's how John Cena got his shot at SummerSlam, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did the same thing there. So I can see Sasha Banks returning next Friday, putting her name on the contract, and then maybe it turning to a triple threat match between Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, and Becky Lynch for Extreme Rules. Might be wrong, but hopefully Sasha Banks will be back soon. Finally, we have a match announced for Raw this coming Monday because WWE has announced that Drew McIntyre will meet Sheamus in the ring on Monday's edition of Raw. The winner of the match will get a shot at WWE United States Champion Damian Priest on September 26 at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Now, the two met last week in a triple threat match against the champion, with Priest retaining the championship by a pinfall on McIntyre. I'm interested for this one because I think that McIntyre will win this one. I would hope so. If they have a situation, and I really hope they don't go in this direction, whereby like Jinder Mahal gets involved and costs Drew McIntyre the match, and then we have Jinder versus Drew 2 at Extreme Rules, and Sheamus versus Damian Priest again at Extreme Rules. Like, Sheamus versus Damian Priest was a good match at SummerSlam. I thought it was actually pretty decent. But I don't want to have Extreme Rules just being a rematch of SummerSlam. Let's do something different, right? Let's do something different. McIntyre versus Priest, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. And I don't think McIntyre should win the title either. I think Priest should win that, and that puts him in a prime position to challenge for the WWE Championship. So I like different. Sheamus versus McIntyre, of course, are very close friends, so they've got history as well. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this match because they have good chemistry, and I would hope, certainly, that this leads to a McIntyre versus Damian Priest match because I think that'll be good. I think that's different. And different is just, that's how low the expectation is at this point with WWE, and the bar is for Monday Night Raw. We're happy with different. Give us something different any day of the week. That's all we want. But anyway, guys, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on these WWE news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community. Drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash the like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Go to the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.